Hey guys, it's Mike here. I'm out in the wilderness, finally, just checking this map to see where I am. And I'm in the garage. But I know what you're thinking. Mike, you said in the last video the Jeep was done and the next video you were going to be out camping. Well, I did say that, but it does take a long time to get this camp gear sorted, and I'm pretty much squared away with all of this now. I've even built my new stove system. It's what you call in Sweden a maruka, and in the US I believe you call it like a skottle. And I've just kind of duct welded some pegs on the bottom so I can fit the MSR multi-fuel under it and use it with the stove, but also use it with a fire, like an open fire too. It just depends on when the fire ban is. But this is basically all wrapped up. I'm going to show you all of this in another video. The only thing to go on board now is sleep mats and camping gear like sleeping bags and the tent itself, which will just be in the back or on the roof. A couple of chairs, and that's it, and obviously clothing bags too. I've also got the tyre carrier bag on the back as well from my friend Jimmy in Australia from Grab My Gear. If you're not familiar with him, definitely check him out, and the link's in the description to his company. He's a friend of mine actually. Makes some really cool stuff, so that's going to expand a little bit of space as well and help us kind of keep the place tidy. But this video isn't about the camp setup. You'll see that next time. This video is about drive shafts and the rear drive shaft on the Cherokee. I've got the old one here and I've got a new one here, double Cardan one. And this is kind of a bit of a thank you really to my Pateron supporters. I know everyone's on YouTube, oh, Pateron support me on Pateron. I never publicise Pateron, I never advertise it really. It is in the description, but that's about it. And my whole thing with it was if people find it naturally and they want to do it, you know, that's fine. I'm open to that, but I don't really like it because it feels like you're begging. And the whole point of the channel is you know, kind of entertainment, and you know, I do have other jobs that I do obviously, but obviously the money I got from Pateron, I think I've got 5 supporters on there, 4 or 5. I stored it away and I wanted to find a solution for the rear drive shaft on the vehicle. I figured an SYE kit, but as you can see I didn't get an SYE kit, and that's purely just down to cost. That it's just too expensive to get it into Sweden. You know, around 20,000 crowns for the drive shaft and the SYE kit without taxes to the door. You know, that's without taxes, without the 25% they're going to put on when that comes in. The same with an SYE kit, you know, just under 10,000 crowns with taxes, I think, to get that to the door that I worked out, and it's just too much. I really wanted to use the money that I'd been given on Pateron to do this last bit, and this is really just to give me less vibration with the lift height I've got, and it should be interesting to run this and see how it goes. So a big thanks to the guys who helped me out on Pateron with this. I really appreciate it. Kind of like the last upgrade really. I'm gonna get it installed. So it's obviously a very easy installation. It's just plug and play, which I think that's why it's going to be fairly easy to move this on. Like if I ever go to an SYE kit and I decide to give this away on the channel or sell it on to somebody, then I expect it will be quite popular because it is just an easy installation. That's one of the things about it. It should clear up some driveline vibrations. You can see the rear axle's basically pointing directly into the drive shaft, which it should do on a double Cardan drive shaft. It should be a vibration-free setup. As the axle drops, it will actually push the drive shaft into the transfer case, and we have about 3¼ inches of engagement on the slip yoke, so it should be plenty. I mean, there really is only a very slight bit of movement, but the issue I see with this long term, at the length now of the output shaft, it's very long, it's far away from the bearing, and you have this big heavy double Cardan joint on the end, which is now putting excess stress on that bearing. And I guess in the long run maybe you'll see output bearings wear faster, seals wear faster, and that's something you would want to change. So I'm going to keep an eye on this. I'll run this through the summer and we'll see what it is like come to winter, and if come to winter it's really bad, then I guess I go from there and I take it forward. But another cool thing about this shaft is I can always butcher it and rebuild a new front prop shaft with it, do something with it like that. You know, it's always useful to have parts like this lying around if you're into fabricating and stuff. But that's the install. So I've just taken the Jeep for a test run and it feels good. I would say that actually it feels like there's more vibration than there was before, but not in the rear, up front. And my hypothesis is it's a bit like, imagine you've got a really fat gut and a really fat ass and you start shaking yourself all over the place. The fat gut and the fat ass are going to kind of cancel themselves out, you know, as they kind of force themselves the other way from each other, kind of like a U-joint. But now that I've just got a skinny ass and a fat gut, aka a balanced rear prop shaft and an unbalanced front prop shaft, it's kind of like throwing all the vibration up front. This is what I'm thinking. My front drive shaft, my front prop shaft, whatever you call it, it's kind of, it needs to be extended, it needs to be lengthened. But the rear feels okay. All I will say is, in the last video I did a rear differential fluid change, and I did a front differential, and I did the gearbox. In the front differential I used Redline 7590 because that's all I had left. I had about 2.5 litres, so enough for the front diff. The rear and the gearbox I used the man oil, 7590 mega oil, can do everything oil. But I got to be honest, the rear diff is now making noise, and the gearbox is making noise, and it's kind of not sounding quite how it was before, if that makes sense. And I did the gear inspection and it looked good. It looked really good. The wear on the gears were great after that braking period, no problems with that. But I think that it might be the man oil. And with a name like that, you'd think it could do everything, but clearly deep down inside it's filled with problems, but it just isn't showing it through that tough blue barrel-like exterior. So in terms of what I'm going to do, I'm going to put an LSD additive in the rear diff, see whether it makes a difference. If it's still making a bit of noise, then I'm just going to ditch the man oil in the back, get a couple of litres of Redline 7590, which I had in there previously, and run with that, because that seemed to make little to no noise at all. Or maybe I'll up the gear weight, the oil weight even, and go with something you know, a little bit thicker. But with the gearbox, I'm putting in the same oil I use in my engine, 10W40. You can do that on the X15 and the X5. The manufacturer website states you can do that, and a lot of people online do that. It is good in a way, because I guess then you just need one oil type for your engine and your transmission, and I happen to have a very good quality oil that I use in my engine, and I wouldn't mind putting that in the transmission too. It's the same weight, basically, the 10W40 pretty much as 7590, and apparently it's kinder on transmissions and works well in the AX15. What we got here, we got a couple of litres, so 750 millilitres is a pint. Oh, I need my phone, I can't do these mathematics. 10 gigabits per 5 to... What? So 2 litres is 4... I'm just putting the old bottle in, man. Jesus. Okay. It's in. Hopefully that'll make a little bit of a difference, a little bit less noise maybe. We shall see. I think it's a 23, you know. No, it is a 24, you silly sod. Okay. Which way's open? Not that way, maybe? Oh, there we are, she's off. We discussed the importance of a controlled drain last time. I think it's quite a difficult thing to achieve. Looks like elderberry squash. What the fuck is rounding off? Oh! Just drain the oil. We're gonna do this, we're not gonna give up. We're doing it. We could do it, man. It's not fitting. 24's not working anymore. That's just totally rounded it off. Living the dream. Oh, the dream is being lived. So I managed to hammer on a 23. but I'm gonna have to take the plug off my other gearbox as a donor if I can get this off. But oh man, this is awful. I hate stuff like this when it goes like this, because you know you're kind of done. Dear God, I know I haven't been around much lately, but oh God, thank you, thank you so much. I never won't believe in you again, Ronald McDonald. So this is a very expensive oil. This is a Redline 10W40 that I use on the engine. Hopefully I've got enough. Hopefully this should make a difference. It's a very good quality engine oil. And I think I've got just enough. It's 2 3/4 quarts, which I think is like 2 point something litres. Well, this table looks worse than it really is. This is all the spare stuff, apart from this drive shaft here. Spare AX15, the NP231 over there is a spare. And the reason I got them out is I just wanted to kind of familiarise myself with them and have a look at the condition of them. I've done a series of tests on the vehicle, so I took it out and basically drove it for quite a while. My first thought was a minor one, and it was to adjust the exhaust bracket that connects to the transmission. I was fairly certain there was some kind of vibration coming through that I could hear, and that can happen from time to time, so I kind of drilled it out and put in a polyurethane bushing with like a metal eye that the bolt can go through, so that bracket can kind of move around, and it just takes away some of the kind of sharper tinny rattles that I was getting upon accelerating. After test driving that, I fitted the harmonic balancer on the back of the MP231, and that actually came off of the spare transmission I've got. And if you look at this drive shaft here, the old one, you've got this big rubber dampener on it that I guess takes away vibration and stuff. It's designed to absorb vibrations. You don't have that on the new drive shaft, so I took away that harmonic balancer off that, fitted it on the other one, just in hope that it smooths some things out a little bit more, and takes away some vibration. I can't say whether I've noticed anything different, but hopefully it does some good. They put it there for a reason, I guess. But the main difference, obviously, is I removed the front drive shaft. If you look at the engagement on my front drive shaft, there's barely any splines going in. I mean, the splines showing, it's completely inadequate. I moved my axle forward to accommodate for a number of different adjustments I did with larger tyre size and the suspension and such, and it's just resulted in that drive shaft being phased out as a component that can no longer work with all the mods that have gone on the vehicle. I've got the drive shaft here just on the bench, and when I originally bought this drive shaft second hand, this is the second drive shaft I've been through. It was as tight as it could be. There was no movement there, but I'm running it somewhere there like that, which is totally inadequate. And you see that movement there, that is a lot of movement. This part of the shaft I serviced when I bought it so many years ago, and this is all really tight. I'm fairly happy with this gearbox, and I think what I'm going to do is get these cleaned up and get them rebuilt. But that kind of stuff I'm not going to do anytime soon, and it's just going to be some background projects. And I think the nice thing about having those spares is I can run the vehicle and enjoy it. But obviously without the front drive shaft in, this thing is running really smooth. It sounds great. There's no vibration anymore. I actually adjusted the tyre alignment too, and the steering wheel, got that straight, but more importantly the tyre alignment is kind of like 0 to 0 now. I had it toe in 1/8 of an inch before, which is about just over 3mm, and that's what the factory recommends. Then I tried it toe out. I was kind of getting this death wobble feeling around 60 miles per hour, but now I've zeroed the tyres. It's really nice. I'm not getting any wobble or any vibration in the steering wheel, apart from the obvious stuff like, when you hit bumps and things. But yeah, it's nice. I'm quite happy with that. But obviously the front drive shaft's a major issue, and something I've got to figure out what to do with. I haven't really got a clue yet. I mean, I'll probably reinstall that drive shaft and just run it, because we want to go out camping this weekend, and as long as I stay low speed, and we're on the back lanes doing like 60 kilometers an hour, I don't think it's going to be a big issue. But the main issue I've got is with my transmission in the vehicle right now, and I suspect that I have some kind of problem with the input shaft. Hopefully not the output shaft. I think it's the input shaft actually, and well, not the shaft but the bearings, you know what I mean. But basically the conditions are that when, so if I change up gears first, second and third, it's no problem at all. Like I can put my foot down, give it a lot of power, and the transmission takes off great. But the issue I've got is then when I change from third to fourth, which I know is 1-to-1 in the transmission, I'm not sure whether that's a key factor or not, but when I put my foot down, I have to build the power up very, very organically with the transmission and the engine. I have to kind of feel the vehicle and feel the engine and build up the power. Because if I put my foot down and I give it a bit more than it can really is comfortable with, let's say, even though it shouldn't be fine, it makes this like noise like that. That's the noise it makes. It basically sounds like it's skipping, but then the RPM stays like this, by the way, but it's like and it's got this like rattle noise, but accompanied by this sort of jolted revving. Yeah, it just sounds really unhealthy, and it does it in fifth too, but not so much. I have to kind of put my foot down a lot. And I guess then if I then go up a hill or something, and if I decide I want to change down gear and I'm in fifth or fourth and the RPM ranges aren't quite right and I try and give it power, I hear it again. This rattly, sort of jolted revving thing going on there. And I don't know whether that's clutch related. Could it be the throwout bearing? But I don't get that classic throwout bearing issue on startup when cold. I don't hear it when I turn the key and I depress the clutch and play around with that, you know, and try and measure the noise. There isn't really any noise on startup in the transmission from cold. You know, in the winter a little bit, yeah, but once it's warmed up, it's fine. So I really don't know what to do. It would be really great maybe if some of you guys with transmission experience could help me, provided you haven't fallen asleep in your breakfast cereal yet, because it's probably been a long video with a lot of talking as per usual. But yeah, that's where I am with it. I'm gonna put that front drive shaft back on now, and I'm gonna run with it. I'm happy with this, and I just want to use it and have fun, and we're going away this weekend. But you know, maybe if you've got any ideas, I'm tempted to cut the shaft and sleeve it and weld it and just lengthen it a little bit. I know the balance might not be right, but as long as that sleeve is near one of the ends, usually the back end near the T-case, maybe you won't feel it so much. But I don't know, I'm a bit stuck really. I'm kind of done with this now. I want to use it, I want to have fun, I want it to run nice, but you know, it's over 20 years old and it's been running a high lift and all sorts of big tyres and stuff for a long time, so stuff goes wrong when you do that. So thanks for watching. I'm going to leave it here. I hope you enjoyed the video, and hopefully you see me in the next one out in the forest, and you know, we'll set up camp and I'll show you how this thing's rolling, and should be good. Take care. Oh man.